Hi everybody, it's Cray and I teach watercolor, and today we are doing our Atmospheric Birch Trees project. Oh, I'm so excited for this project. I had the best time making it and I cannot wait to show you how to do it. We're gonna do this project in 5 steps. Ooh. We have Keenan here working the cameras.
Keenan is here.
Sorry, I did not introduce him before.
It's okay, it's not a big deal.
Okay, 5 steps. The first one is we are going to tape off our trees and do a wash. Okay, then we're gonna let that dry and do it again. That's step 2, tape and wash. Step 3, we're gonna remove all of our tape and then ink in our trees. Our 4th step is we're gonna put shrubbery here on the bottom. And our 5th step is gold leaves along the top.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
We have 3 paint brushes that we're using, round 6, round 12, 1-inch wash, but please use whatever you have at home. We are using 3 paint colors. First paint color is space blue, second paint color is tangerine, and our 3rd paint color is rose red. Okay, I also have 2 additional supplies. I have this Tombow Mono Twin. This is how we are going to be making our birch tree textures. We're essentially doing like an ink and wash, like sketching kind of thing, but you can use black paint if you don't have this pen, no problem. I also am using this gold ink here. This is, let me make sure I'm saying it right. Lumiere by Jacquard.
Yep,
it's a light body metallic acrylic. It actually is super versatile. You can use it on like clothes even. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, if you read like the description, you can use it on so many things. It's really cool. But I like that it's a little bit thin because some acrylic paints are super, super thick. And I feel like this still almost feels like just like watercolory a little bit. So I like to work with it. Just remember to rinse your brushes really well after you're done using it. And that's it. Oh, super important that you have tape. I am using my soft tape. If you do not have any tape, you can try and paint around the trees. It's not gonna be as fun, but make sure I'm using the 3/4 inch tape.
Okay.
Okay.
You're taping the trees off?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Wow.
Let's do our oath. There is no outline and we're just gonna get right into it. So raise your right hand, repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Thank you so much. And this theme for this box is Wabi Sabi, which is celebrating the imperfect, the impermanent, and the incomplete. Ah. So this is why the focus is to play, the focus is to experiment, and then the focus is to look at after you played, after you tried something new, what do you appreciate about it? And can we find those moments of beauty that make it so we can still appreciate its value, even if it's something that we're like, we're not gonna hang it up. And I'm gonna let you in on a little secret before we started painting. I really played with the idea of us having us paint an entire project and then the last step was to rip it up. Because that's part of it, the impermanent, right? And I think a lot of times with art, we have this expectation in our head that it needs to be long-lasting, museum, archival quality that will last forever and ever and ever. And is there value to that? Yes, there is value to that. I respect that. But also, is there value to painting something that you know is not gonna go anywhere and is just going to like do nothing, and also that you are so okay with who you are as an artist that even if it's your favorite painting, you can rip it up. Like, there is power in that. I don't know.
That's you know what I was gonna say. There's power in that.
There is power, and there are artists who spend hours and hours and hours on an installation piece, and that is part of the artwork. And then them tearing it down or it being unfinished is the beauty of it as well. Knowing that it's a glimpse, knowing that it's not forever, that it's not gonna last a lifetime. So you need to appreciate it now. That is the beauty. So I decided not to do that because I didn't want people coming at me being like, you should never throw away or rip your paintings, you know, like, okay, that's true. But also, it's kind of fun.
This would have been a great scenario for it.
Yeah.
It's not too late.
Okay, let's get started. So, My very first step is I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to make trees. So I taped off my paper and I left a really wide border. That's just personal preference. You can make this paper size, whatever size you want. I'm gonna take roughly the height of the paper and I'm gonna kind of like tape it, and then you can like wrinkle it a little bit so it gets kind of like thinner at the top, okay? So there's a tree. Let's do another one. Like, look at the angles too. Maybe this one kind of is leaning to the left a little bit. And don't be afraid to like get some different widths here. Trees are weird.
Totally.
Appreciate the weirdness. Okay, there's a tree. We're gonna do another one right here on the right-hand side. Angle to the right, but also think about the natural way things grow. Have I seen trees that grow like this? Yes, but that's a pretty strong angle for my composition. So I'm just gonna lightly angle it. Okay? Make sure the edges are taped down, but if we get some bleeding, that is not a big deal. I don't know if you know this about this month, but we're not really caring about the perfect or the clean edges, you know?
That's right.
Okay, take your 1-inch wash.
Now you know.
You can use just water if you want. And I'm just going to wet the areas in between. You can just paint right over that tape.
It's magic tape.
It's my favorite tape. Okay, and then now we're going to do like a blue-green wash. So I'm gonna take space blue, add some tangerine, but have more blue than green. And then you can use your 1-inch wash. I'm gonna start by putting in almost like a vignette. Vignette is when it's a darker value along the edges. So I'm gonna put a little bit of paint in the middle. And you wanna put color on here because basically our trees are gonna be our foreground trees and we want those to be white. So we want them to stand out from the background. So make sure that you're actually putting color down, because if you don't, then when we lift up the tape, then you're not gonna be able to see that tree shape very well, okay? But I like to keep my values darker along the edges, specifically the bottom and the sides. And then I'm gonna take my 12, grab some green, orange, whatever color you want, literally. Let's flick.
Starting off strong.
We're just going for it. We are going for weird mark making. We are going for bleeds and textures. We're going for
Splash the color.
the movement of it. Everything that you want to play with, but you refrain because you're trying to keep your painting nice. Don't refrain.
Not today,
Not
Junior.
today. Splash some more. I kind of like how they were like, and so much of this is being covered up anyway. So like, don't stress, you know?
Yeah.
And let's say there's a mark that you don't like, well, move it out or leave it in and just see what happens. You never know. Okay. Now, I'm gonna do, nope, I'm gonna leave it. My brain is telling me to smooth this out, but from what I learned painting with my husband when we did the dune tutorial is I had the tendency to just like smooth things out. He's like, no, leave it. And it actually turned out really cool. So I'm gonna take a learning from him and I'm not gonna touch it. So we're gonna let this dry and then we are gonna do that one more time. We're gonna get some more tape, layer it, and then do a wash on top.
Cool.
But you wanna make sure your painting is dry so the tape actually sticks to the paper. While we're waiting for this to dry, this was my sketch for this project.
Ooh.
Isn't it? When I painted it, I think I put it in my Instagram stories, but I'm like, this is the most fun I've had painting in a long time. It was just...
It looks cartoonish.
Yeah, like somebody messaged me and said it kind of reminds them of like Calvin and Hobbes, you know, that kind of style.
Yes.
So it definitely has an element of illustration and sketchiness, and Not sketchiness bad, but you know, it has all of those things, and it was just fun. What I just realized too is like these little drops that were like distracting me, I realized that they could also be like falling leaves. What were you gonna say? It looked like you had a different
fireflies.
Oh yeah. I will never get over the wonder of fireflies.
Nope.
One of my favorite nights probably happened 2 years ago. It was a crazy, I mean, if you guys have been to the Midwest, they have some wild thunderstorms in the summer. So it was a lightning storm in the middle of summer. So it's just lightning going da 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 da. And that's also when fireflies are out. And fireflies react to each other's light. And so then across, we have this field across from us. So it's lightning, brightening up the sky. And then you just see all these lightning bugs, fireflies, just like poof, 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 all over the place. And we just sat out on the porch and watched it. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've seen.
Yeah, that's going to be a gorgeous night.
Yeah, just right here in, when I first heard about moving out to Missouri, I'm like, really? Missouri?
Really?
And then I'm like, wow, this place is actually really beautiful. It blew my mind. The name is not fair because people are like, you're moving to misery? And I'm
Yes.
like, well, maybe in the winter.
Winter, and there are some summer days where you're wondering why you live here.
You just stay inside.
Yeah.
Same
Find a
for winter.
basement.
Okay, so for our second layer of trees, essentially these are going to be like our mid-ground trees. So you can see here, my trees that are in my foreground are bigger. And then my mid-ground trees are a different color. That's because we're going to put on the tape now, and they're thinner. So in order to get them thinner, we're going to rip our tape.
Uh-oh.
Just right in half. Okay, and let the thinner side be at the top.
I've never ripped tape that easily.
Really?
Yes.
Is it hard?
I mean, that was fairly straight. It's upsetting.
You can do as many trees as you guys want. I'm gonna do one more set of trees. Now, sometimes there are compositional rules where you only work in odds, that kind of stuff. I honestly don't follow those rules. I feel like I just look at what the painting needs. And then I'm like, oh yes, I definitely need one more tree over here to balance it out. Should I do one in between? Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes.
Maybe hidden.
Yeah, but watch the angles. So you see how this tree is already angled this way? I almost did one the exact same angle. And our brain just likes to do that. So when you notice it, just be like, not today, brain. And then I'm gonna have one kind of coming up here. Like right on the edge, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I need one more thin one right here. What do you think?
To fill in that big space?
Yeah. And with ripping tape, that's always a little bit scary because we're just like, oh no, what if it gets too thin? Well, now it's a branch. You know? And here. Okay. So this middle is still pretty empty, but I'm okay with that because I kind of want it to seem like you're looking through trees.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm just going to press them all down to make sure that they're taped. Now, even though we're using my favorite tape in the world, and I truly feel like it's magical, you are probably still going to get some bleeding because we are doing so many washes and so much paint. But don't worry about that because it's cool. It's cool, you guys. Don't worry about it. Okay. So I'm gonna just start with, let's go back to our 1 inch. And I'm just gonna do the same thing, doing another layer. So I'm gonna wet. Wet the whole thing, and then we're gonna just throw in some color. Now, if there's an area that you're particularly fond of, and you're like, no, I really like that texture, paint around it, you know? It's not a big deal.
Yeah, just, yeah, move around.
I'm still gonna try and keep the center fairly light, but again, you gotta put some paint down so there's differences in the values between the trees and your background. And then take your 12 and let's just drop in some colors, especially in between the pieces of tape. Now I can see here that some of that is already bleeding. It's not a big deal. We're gonna use our mono twin pen to shape our trees, so it's not the end of the world. Now, because our paper is wet, this is kind of like diffusing out. I'm gonna do some splatters. More paint along here. If you even wanna do like some lines, like the hint, like a shadow of some trees going out, go for it. You can even do water splatters. I'm glad I put on this apron. I'm getting paint everywhere.
Accidentally prepared.
That's
Nailed
right.
it.
I feel like that's my life. Like accidentally on top of it.
Oops. Oh, we're safe.
Yeah. Okay, do that as much as your heart desires. I feel pretty good about where I landed with that. Now remember, we are going to want to add some like leaves along the bottom. So you don't want this wash to be like black, like so dark in value that if we were to do a dark value on top, we couldn't see it. So I would keep your washes and whatever you're playing with here a medium value. This is also a really fun project too, like when we did the Make Your Mark tutorial, how we used the lid to like smear stuff. Grab a credit card, grab a an old business card that you're not going to use that to smear stuff around.
Yeah. There's probably lots of leftover Christmas cards.
Yeah, probably.
What are you supposed to do with those after 4 or 5 months?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
I don't either. I can't save all of them.
That's true.
Start sending them back.
Here, you can have this back.
Did you want this back?
So it was my first year ordering Christmas cards, and I ordered way more than I needed to. So I have like 50 plus cards just sitting in my book. And I'm like, do you think people would notice if I do this same card for next year?
If there's no year and no new update, yeah. How will they know?
I don't know. If they keep it, that's how they'll know.
That's how they'll know. Wait a second.
Okay, so.
Send the same year for 4 or 5 years in a row.
I literally looked to see if I put the year
age.
on it. I'm like, did I put the year on this? Because I can just resend it. Efficient. That's how I like to problem solve.
Yeah,
efficiency.
That's efficiency for sure.
Okay. So my paper is dry. Now, if you have problem with your tape tearing your paper, I was talking to our paper manufacturer one time, and he told me it might be a good idea after we use a heat tool just to let our paper cool to the touch before we try and remove the tape if you have problem tearing. I can't remember what tape he was using for that, but he was saying that like he's noticed that depending on the tape he's using, if he uses a heat gun with that tape, that sometimes it changes how the adhesive goes on the paper, and I just took his word for it. So I'm just sharing that with you now, okay?
All of his words. Took all his words, believed him.
Believed him, didn't test it myself,
and
here we go. Okay, now I'm going to slowly and gently remove my tape from my trees. And you can see how white our paper stayed.
Magic.
So here is like a mid or a far ground tree. So I got a good amount of bleeding. That's okay though. That actually looks like a birch tree texture
really
already.
Does. That's cool.
That's what I mean when like the bleeds aren't going to be detrimental, because it can just kind of look like the bark a little bit.
Wow. And
also know that you guys can use this in multiple layers. Like we did too, But if you wanted to do 3 or 4, you totally can. The only bummer about the bleeding into our thinner tape, gosh, look at that texture. That straight up looks like birch tree texture.
It's alive.
Is like our value didn't stay as light. So one thing, it could just be like a further away tree. Or what you can do is you can, I don't have it as listed as what we used, but if you got this box, you should have bleed proof white. So you can do some bleed proof white on like some of the trunk as a highlight. This is accidental, but I love it. Can you see the close-up on that?
Yeah, the textures.
Yeah. Like, that is so cool. That is totally an accident.
Lucky.
This is how good I am.
First you brought an apron, and now you don't have to, the painting's done.
Now I don't even have to like do the bark part. Except for on these big ones. Okay, how'd this one do? Cool. Okay, so now we're going to shape our trees. So again, you want to make sure your paper is dry so you can use your pen on top of it. So I used the thick edge to do the outline of the trees and like these dark parts, and then I used the thin edge to kind of do this sketchy along the side. Do you see that?
Yep.
So that's what we're gonna do here, but remember this is your painting, so if you just wanna use the thin edge, go for it. And then I am not trying to make this a perfectly straight line.
Is the dark part of a birch tree the bark? Or is the white part the bark?
I don't know.
I don't see enough birch trees in my life.
I just don't know enough about them to give you a confident answer.
I understand.
You see how I'm using like the side of the pen, it's kind of lifting up. That's okay, we're letting this be messy. Just remember that for the most part, usually trees start thick and then get thinner along the top. Now for our mid-ground trees. And these ones over here. I'm doing lighter pressure on the ones that are farther away. Like that was a super wavy line, but I feel like this is one of those paintings that you can get away with wonky lines.
Mm-hmm.
This guy over here.
And yeah, those textures.
Okay.
It's just bark.
So already we have depth. Look at the depth that we have achieved in our painting already. So cool. Okay, so now I'm gonna take this thick edge and just start putting in, Keenan, why don't you look it up and see if it's like bark, what is it?
All right.
Our brain is gonna want us to do every other evenly spaced. Try not to do that, even though that's literally what I'm doing right now.
Oh, snap. So it looks like, from the images, their bark is multi-layered,
okay,
and it's white, and it kind of peels off some of them.
So is the black just what you see underneath?
Yeah, so it looks like that part, man, it's tricky to tell.
I want to call attention to, on this first tree, I just did the marks in vertical strokes. And then on this one, I did them in horizontal strokes, kind of mimicking like the form of the tree, like they're a little bit curved. And I know it's something silly, but this feels more form, like realistic to me than this one does. So as you're doing your sketches, do more horizontal marks that are slightly curved. to follow that form of the trunk.
Birch trees are very interesting.
Should have done more research on them.
So the bark, this is the word it uses, sloughs.
Oh, okay, that's a good word.
Sloughs off as the tree expands.
Oh, interesting.
A little like how snakes shed their skins. Smooth barks have their advantages. Insects have a hard time burrowing into smooth bark. Also, as the bark peels off, it gets rid of moss and lichen that thrive in the same damp environments as birch trees. Just shakes all that stuff off.
Cool.
I'm still uncertain as to... I think the dark spots are... What's the word? Bark that stayed and is bad.
Okay.
Whereas the white part is the stuff that still sheds.
Okay.
So knots in a tree, that's going to hold on to bark longer.
I'm also going to add some like they have little branches that kind of come off a little bit. So kind of throughout, I'll just be like, oh, okay, here's, and I'm just going to do it using this marker for this pen. Just remember to let it kind of thin out as it gets longer.
They used to use birch tree peeled off bark for painting.
Oh, interesting.
And paper and stuff like that before mass producing.
So on these areas, like this area right here, I definitely am going to want some branches like going into it just to kind of like, because here we have a lot going on in these spaces. This is a pretty big chunk to have nothing. So you can make your little growth branches go a little bit out a little bit more. They can overlap into the other trees. Don't feel like they can't go in front of each other because they would naturally. Okay.
Whoa. While I was reading about birch bark, you had a whole painting getting done. Holy shnikes, look at that thing.
Now we're going to switch to the other side, and then using this kind of like curved scribble.
Oh, cool.
Just kind of give more of that birch texture. Now, I think I have one other tutorial where we did birch trees, and that one I believe we used dry brush texture for this, like the oh my gosh, what we were just talking about. Bark, thank you.
You're
Whoa.
welcome. I know, I lost that word a few times.
So you can do that too. I'm gonna do it a little bit after I do this, but I just figured, why not have fun with this pen? And you can be like, Sarah, are you literally just scribbling? Yes. Yes, I am. Literally scribbling. You can do as much or as little scribbles as you want. Maybe you just want to do a little bit here and there. Maybe you really like the look and you want to just go for it. Now this, because I have such gorgeous like texture from the tape bleeding, I'm not going to scribble too much on this one. Like maybe just a little bit, but I'm not going to cover like the whole thing because I still want that to be seen. But that's why you need to look at your painting and decide what it needs instead of just follow what I'm doing because yours could be different. I didn't do any. love this project so much.
Okay.
Okay.
This is awesome.
Next, we are going to just put a little bit of texture like with our watercolor on our trees. So we're still kind of just like defining those birch trees. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of this like blue-green mixture that I have going on. Take some of your red and throw that in there. It's gonna make like a purple. If it's too purpley, add more tangerine. That's gonna neutralize that purple. And I'm kind of going for a gray color. So I'm gonna add a little bit more blue and a tiny bit more purple. Too much red. Ooh, I don't want to put that in there. A little bit more purple in there. Okay, so I have this kind of like grayish tan color. I'm going to make sure that my brush is dry. And then you can go this way, you can go across. We're just adding a little bit of texture and medium value onto the white of our trees. Because we have some extreme values here, right? We have the whitest white, which is just the paper, and the black of the pen. And I want to just put a little bit of another color on there just to kind of like marry the two.
Got it.
But this is how we can tell that it's our foreground trees because of that contrast, the lightest light with the darkest dark. So it's not a bad thing. Okay, and I'm gonna try, like that feels good. That is great.
That is great.
I love this project. Okay, and we do not have this product listed, but I just wanna show you so you can decide if you happen to have bleed proof white. I'm gonna take a little bit and just on these mid-ground trees, what happens if we do a little.
Whoa.
You know, it's not going to bring it all the way forward, right? But it can give us a little bit of a highlight. And I'm going to do a little bit over here too.
For a minute, my mind switched the colors and it made everything like it made the whole painting look inverted. I don't know how to describe it. Like it was just reversed briefly and it freaked me out. So like, what just happened? Yeah, it was weird. Super cool though. Trippy.
Now, if you guys have like, sometimes I get questions, can I just use like white acrylic paint? Can I just use white gouache? Yeah. You can even just, if you have like a white gel pen, you can use that as highlights, you know? Why not?
Ooh, that would be cool.
Okay. Now we are moving on to step 4. We're gonna add just some shrubbery along the bottom just because like I think of when you walk through like a really heavy forest, there's like bushes and there's like all this stuff. Maybe they're baby trees coming out. So we're gonna mix a very dark value. So basically I'm gonna mix all 3 of my colors together. Rose red, space blue, and tangerine. And I wanna get like a navy blue. So I put a lot of orange in that, so I need more blue. Here we go. I just want to make sure that it's going to be darker than whatever like the darkest part of my wash is, okay? And then take this dark color that you just mixed. It might lean green, it might lean blue, it might even lean purple, but I want mine to lean more blue-green. And then I'm just going to draw some leaves. So I like to do like kind of just these marks like this. And I'm going over my foreground trees. And then like along the tips I can do little detail leaves kind of coming out. So 6, kind of just making different marks. Some of my times I'm holding my brush angled this way, sometimes I have it angled this way, and then just using the tip, leaf, leaf, okay?
This gives me total comic book vibes.
Totally, yes.
Man,
like that graphic art style.
Yep.
I love exploring different styles and techniques. It's just like fun. And sometimes you fall in love with something, not even realizing that you love it because you've never tried it before, you know? So I'm gonna stay along the bottom here. It's totally up to you how high you want it to go. I think I might carry it a little bit more this way, just to kind of like frame my painting a little bit, but you don't have to do that. This is your, like, maybe it's just like a hint of grass or something like that. It kind of just depends on how like wild and full you want it to feel. So here I'm going to have it kind of come up over this way.
This would be such a fun little, like a kid's book cover.
Yeah, it is such a dream of mine to illustrate a kid's book. I'm going to do it.
Do it.
One day I'm going to do it. And then whenever I want a smaller stroke, instead of holding my brush like this, I move it to its point. Okay. I kind of like that. I like how it kind of curves in. That wasn't on my reference, but I'm going to go with it. And then you guys can decide what you like to do, okay? Sometimes I like to try things in video as it's happening so you guys can decide, oh yeah, I want to try that, or oh no, no thank you. Cool. And then, like, if you want to do this, it's a little bit late now. Like if you were going to incorporate this, let's say you want another layer of this foliage, but it feels like it's further away. You just take a medium value and do the same thing, kind of above it. So it looks more like layers in depth of that kind of, maybe there's bushes kind of coming out this way with. You see what I mean?
Yep.
If you wanted to go that route, then you would start with doing that and then move forward to your darkest value, okay? But just so you guys can get an idea of what it would look like.
Whenever I would visit my grandparents in Washington,
Yeah.
as a kid, we would go, my cousins and I would go to, they lived on top of this huge hill.
Okay.
Like you would travel up this not mountain, but this road that was just super steep. Well, that created valleys, but they weren't like maintained. They were just woods everywhere.
Ooh.
Gorgeous. And so we'd go and explore those.
Cool.
For the whole day. We'd come back when it's dark and it's kind of scary when you're coming back through the woods, but man, that's what this is making me think of.
Totally, and that's what I want. I wanted it to feel playful, that illustrative comic book, sketchbook quality, and also full. Like you can just step right in there and get lost. I feel adventure
coming out of this page right now.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm moving to my gold acrylic paint. And then that's what I'm going to do my leaves. So even the little branches kind of coming off my birch trees, we'll get some leaves. And then leaves are kind of funny along birch trees. I feel like they kind of just go up the whole trunk pretty much. Like the bottom half, there's a little bit, and then more along the top is where you'll get the branches come out with these kind of like little leaves surrounding it. So I'm not being too like, this is the exact shape of a leaf. You know, it's kind of, I'm just kind of more doing dashes.
It's kind of foggy out there anyway.
Yeah.
How are you going to see all the details? How do you expect to see all the details?
You can't.
No.
Unrealistic expectations.
You've got a fake bow and arrow strapped to your back with rope and your trusty walking sword.
That's right. So again, they're mostly condensed along the top and they can run into each other. If you want to take the time to shape them and do kind of like that curved leaf line, leaf shape, go for it. This is your painting. I don't want you to feel like you can't. And then don't forget the ones kind of coming off. And this acrylic can go right over that black, which is fun.
Wow. That's cool.
I kind of feel like I want, ooh, I love this area right here. Mm-hmm. Ooh, pretty. That needs some leaves. So it's just like little groupings. And I'm still going to do along the top here, and then it kind of thins out. So do as much as your heart desires. Remember to have fun with it and play with it. I wonder what would happen. Let's just... Ooh, that's cool.
That is cool.
Okay, well, you guys can scrape it if you want, smear it around, let it get messy. But this is our project. Now we got to remove the tape on this one, because let me tell you, removing the tape on this project.
Oh man, it's going to be a reveal and a half.
Now, because again, we did so many layers, we might get a little bit of bleeding. So prepare yourself.
Do not be disappointed. This is so good, we should probably have a cookie.
I agree with that.
Do you happen to have any cookies?
I don't. Oh.
Ooh, nice. Tape connected to tape.
Yeah, sometimes it just moves right into that other one.
Oh my gosh, that right corner is unreal.
Yes!
You said
Okay.
prepare yourself. Nary a bleed to be found.
Not a freaking one.
Oh my goodness.
I do wish that I would have done one more tree, a smaller, thin one right here. But that is okay.
I like it. Also, it's not too late.
Yeah, you can put it in
You
there.
can draw that in there real quick. It'd just be a fading
Yeah, you totally could.
tree.
Do you have a favorite tree of the bunch?
I think it's that right side one that you can barely see.
This one?
Yep.
Yeah, that one is good.
That corner though.
Yeah, this right here?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, that was the best time painting. I hope that you guys had fun with this. I hope that you let yourself play, especially when you're doing those washes and you see those splatters. Like one, you can barely see them, but I'm so glad that they're there because they bring a little bit to that space without it being so much. And it's just, you do this project and you're gonna get a different result every time. Play with different colors, different types of trees. Allow yourself to do multiple layers, or I don't know, but I want you to take this and just run with it because it is so fun. And that's the beauty of it, you know, the imperfect and the impermanent and the incomplete.
Is that acrylic shiny?
Yeah, it's metallic.
Oh my goodness.
It's gold paint.
You moved it and it shone brightly like a diamond.
Yeah, this is gold paint.
Well,
Isn't that
that's
cool?
Amazing.
You thought this was just yellow paint the whole time?
I just thought it was gold colored paint. I didn't realize it was metallic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, well, I hope that you have that same reaction that Keenan just had when you're done with your painting. Thank you so much for painting with me. I really had the best time. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. If you're on Facebook, you can join our watercolor group. That's called Let's Make Art Watercolor. If you are on Instagram, you can tag us at Let's Go Make Art or hashtag Let's Make Art. Again, allow yourself the freedom to play and explore, and also allow yourself the freedom that if you don't like it, to throw it away. And I think allow yourself to not have to paint something with a purpose. I get questions all the time where they're like, what do you do with all your paintings? They are literally stacked in many drawers, like hundreds of paintings just stacked in drawers. Because I'm not making it with oh, this has to be for this person, or I have to sell this, or this has to be for this. It's just like, I like to paint, so I have a lot of paintings, and I don't think of it as a waste, and I think it's fine sitting in a drawer. And sometimes my family members come through and rifle through, and they're like, can I take this? Can I take this? I'm like, go for it. It's not doing anything sitting in a drawer, but there's nothing wrong with that either. So, okay. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Bye.